Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. I am Paul Catalina, and this is my Top 5. That sounds repetitive, but that's marketing, baby. Flagandanthem.com. Use our promo code 365sports. Flag and Anthem. Use our promo code 365sports. That means you'll remember it because I said it twice every time through. I'm a genius, babe. B storylines in the Big Ten. Now, these are not the A storylines or the major things. These are the little side stories you have to look for. Think of it like a sitcom. There's always an A story, a B story, and a C story. Now, the C stories I'm not going to worry about. I don't even know what those are yet. But the B storylines, we know what those are. Number 5. I'm back to counting down in the right way again. New coordinators at Ohio State. Look, Brian Hartline, one of the best recruiters in the country, is now their OC. He'll be calling plays. I think that'll ultimately work out well because he's very sharp. But I do think that there will be some growing pains. Where I think there will be a lot of growing pains, and perhaps tragic ones, is on the other side of the ball, where Matt Patricia is. Matt Patricia, who has coached in college not a lot, and not a lot recently, and his stops without Bill Belichick have not been successful. Well, guess who doesn't coach at Ohio State? Bill Belichick. Interesting to watch to see how they adjust. They lost 2 really good coordinators in Chip Kelly and Jim Knowles. Both those guys are gone. They're off to other jobs. We'll see how it affects the Buckeyes this year. Number 4. Will USC play defense 2 years in a row? D'Anton Lynn. And yes, I saw the typo. We're ignoring it. We're ignoring it because I don't want to walk over and stop taping. Will D'Anton Lynn continue to improve that defense? Jordan Mailata is their starting quarterback, and that's been Lincoln Riley's forte. Well, he is not a really highly recruited guy. He's a transfer from UNLV who sat behind Miller Moss for most of last year. Now he's the guy. We'll see what kind of QB guru he is. But Lincoln Riley was made to start caring about defense for the first time in his career last year. Brought in D'Anton Lynn from UCLA. You saw an improvement. What will it be like year 2? Will they continue to improve on that side of the ball? That's a big one. Number 3, is the Matt Rule year 3 bump in effect? Temple, Baylor show you he didn't get the year 3 bump at Carolina because they fired him before year 3, because that's a fun organization. But Nebraska appears headed in that direction. Dylan Raiola, the receivers they went out and got, bringing in Dana Holgerson as the offensive coordinator. Yes, they have to replace Tony White, but their defensive culture is established. This should be a much better Nebraska team year 3, and I would not be surprised to see them take down some big boys. Number 2, who is this year's Indiana? Out of nowhere, nobody's thinking about them. I'm going to say Michigan State. You know why I'm going to say Michigan State? The man himself, Jonathan Smith, who took over there after leaving his alma mater in Oregon State. Did a great job at Oregon State, has had a year to figure things out and get pointed to true north. Watch out for Sparty this year. They might surprise some people because they've got a damn good coach. Now, I'm not talking about their players and their roster. That remains to be seen. But I trust in Jonathan Smith, and I expect to see an improvement there this year in East Lansing. Number 1, Kirk Ferentz is re-energized. You would have thought of all the old, grizzled, grumpy-ass coaches in the world that Kirk Ferentz would not like this era of college football. Quite the contrary. He says the new challenge has re-energized him. And when a football mind like Kirk Ferentz gets re-energized, that's bad news for the rest of the conference, for the rest of the world. He's already got a great defensive coordinator in Phil Parker. He's been made to be a little bit more offensively innovative. And Mark Gronowski steps in at quarterback this year after a really good run at the FCS level, winning national titles. So, is Kirk Ferentz re-energized? That's bad news for the Big Ten and bad news for the rest of the country when you play him. Because if he's got a new spring in his step, 90 is the new 30. I know he's not 90. I don't know how old he is. He looks 90 sometimes, though. But best of luck to you, Kirk Ferentz, if you are truly re-energized in this chaotic era of college football. That's going to do it for the top 5. Smokey has to read some polls right now. You ready? Welcome into Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Our promo code is 365sports. I am Paul Catalina, and here we go. B storylines in the SEC. Now, SEC fans out there are probably being very snobby with me with this topic because you can be a little bit, you have some snobbery to you. They think there are no B storylines when it comes to the SEC. They're all A storylines. Everybody is Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise, and there are no small parts, only small actors. Well, I disagree. Number 5, will Texas A&M ever get better? If they are, this is the year to show it. They have marquee opponents on their schedule that they are probably talented enough to beat based on what's on their roster. But will they get out of their own way and do it? That means beating a team like Notre Dame or beating a team like Texas on the schedule. They've got to do it, and they've got to do it more than once. If you think about the years, and LSU, marquee team on their schedule. If you think about the marquee wins they've had in the SEC, it's like they either beat Alabama, which they've done twice, or or LSU, which I think they've done 3 times.
It's up to 3.
Yeah, it's up to 3. Well, that's 5 total big SEC wins for them. 5. They've been in the SEC for a lot longer than 5 years. And will they stop tripping over their own you-know-what when it comes to beating teams that they're favored against? They have got to do that. Will they ever get better? This is the year to show that maybe you've gotten better, and Mike Elko's in prime position to do that. Number 4, will Hugh Freeze show something? Now, I see this, and I want you to know that I made this top 5 yesterday. I did not know he would talk about length and girth in a press conference today. So now realizing, will Hugh Freeze show something, carries a little bit of a different weight. But will Auburn actually get moving? It's 2 years. This offensive guru hasn't looked like too much of a guru yet. He hasn't really had a quarterback. Can he get Jackson Arnold right? And all of that. Auburn, not a team that's likely going to compete for the SEC title, which makes them a B storyline. They become an A storyline if Hugh Freeze really hits the wall and doesn't achieve what he's trying to. But this appears to be a year where they can. Number 3, I see the typo again here, is Mark Stoops on the hot seat. I think he very much is. Kentucky runs the risk of falling behind in the SEC race if they don't do something right this year. Zach Calzada, who's on his 75th school, is their quarterback. I don't know how that's going to work out for the Wildcats. We'll see. Number 2, can Arkansas improve? I love Taylon Green. I think everybody's a big fan of Sam Pittman, the guy, but can Sam Pittman, the coach, and Sam Pittman's staff take that next step? They've got a tricky schedule, but if this team can go 6-6 or 7-5, I think his job is safe. That's going to be tough to do. And there's other coaches out there that the fans might want more of, the boosters might want more of, and they've got some people willing to spend some money, as we've seen at the basketball program with John Calipari. And number 1, how long before LSU is tired of Brian Kelly? Garrett, what's the answer to this question?
Been tired since the day he was hired.
There you go. Garrett's disembodied voice tells you. Been tired since the day he was hired. He's got to capitalize on his roster this year and make something happen. He's got to be in the playoff. He's not in danger of losing his job, but he's in danger of losing their tolerance with him, which then will eventually lead to him losing his job. All the other coaches have won titles. Saban, Miles, Orgeron. It hasn't been that long for Brian Kelly, but they didn't bring him in there to just kind of keep riding the wave. That's not what they do at LSU. That's going to do it for the top 5. Smokey, read some polls. All right. We wrap up our B storylines top 5s today. I'm Paul Catalina. This is the top 5 brought to you by Flag and Anthem. Go to flagandanthem.com. Our promo code is 365sports. Use that for a discount at checkout. Number 5, rule enforcement. Do they have it? They thought they did for 3 weeks, and then it changed. What is the CSC? What does it do? What are the rules that they are enforcing? All this stuff remains nebulous at this point, and we'll probably see more of it as the season goes along, but they still have to deal with what the finality of the House settlement will be. So how do they enforce rules? How do you prevent tampering? All of those things. How do you do that? We really still have no idea. Number 4, 5 for 5. And Paul, why is there a very pixelated old person yelling on the screen? Well, there are 6th, 7th year people playing college sports right now. That's not a good thing. As a matter of fact, most 6th and 7th year players don't really help you win titles. They help you fill gaps for sure, but the players who win titles in every sport are the ones who are professionals at the next level. For the most part, I know that it's not a completely blanket statement. Nobody's a monolith, all of that. But getting 5 years of eligibility to play 5, that is something that needs to be on the table and move to the forefront very fast. But they still have to figure out revenue sharing and all of this. Guess what can solve this? Collective bargaining. It's a dirty word, though. I could say the F word, the C word, and all these other words in front of the NCAA council, and if I said collective bargaining, they'd be like, you kissed your mother with that mouth? It's ridiculous. The year 2 of the 12-team playoff, as we get to number 3 here, parity. Parity is something that the SEC and Big Ten would have you believe doesn't truly exist. But with the transfer portal, I think it's starting to exist in a way that it hasn't before. We are not going to see dynasties in the same way we saw dynasties. We're never going to see Nick Saban's Alabama again. I feel confident in saying that. So do we have parity? Is it coming? Is it making it more reasonable? Well, I think that's going to be on the ACC and the Big 12 to show us that we do this year by having some of their better teams not only get to the playoff, but win big-time playoff games. Number 2, are the coaches' voices going to be heard? It was very troubling to hear from Chris Kleiman on Big 12 Media Days that there's only one coach on the D1 Council. That's ridiculous. Now, look, it shouldn't be awash in coaches, but if you want true balance, you need to have administrators and coaches working hand in hand and not have one voice that represents all the coaches, all of whom have some similar and some differing opinions. You need multiple voices, and you need practicality to come back to scheduling, calendar, all that in college athletics, and coaches need to be there to do that. And finally, number 1, playoff expansion. We're going to keep hearing about it nonstop until the SEC and Big Ten become buds again. It's going to be there. 16, AQs, 5 and 11, blah, 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 blah. Get ready for it. Even though there's going to be games to distract you, it will be the undercurrent that runs through the whole season. And allow me to say, bleh. Well, that's going to do it for us. That's going to do it for the top 5. Smokey has some polls to read.